Hello and welcome to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm Josh Oakes. And remember, we keep kids safe on social media so they can someday shine online. Today is so much more than just shining online. Today is shining in person. I have an awesome guest here today, Valerie Roberts from the Good Manners Club, and she comes to us from Kentucky. She's Kentucky's etiquette lady. And if you're listening to this in audio, she was wearing an amazing outfit, white gloves, and she is dressed to the tens. I guess they say the nines, but I'm going to say the tens because you're putting your best foot forward. She has a big smile. And today we got the great opportunity and privilege to interview Valerie. Schools, if you're listening to this, Valerie teaches students lots of things, but the thing that I thought was so revolutionary, the thing that I think is so neat for our smart social community is today she taught posture, eye contact, proper English, and how to give the best handshake, which is so important. Valerie, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being a part of our lesson plan. You know, schools, we have a member, smartsocial.com, even though I travel the country teaching students how to shine online and be positive, Valerie teaches them in her classes, in her assemblies, in her workshops, in all these things she does, how to really have amazing etiquette. And I think this is so important so that we can put our in-person best foot forward because we only get that one chance. So Valerie, I want you to tell the parents and the educators who are listening to this podcast, watching this video, I want to dive into what video one in our lesson. We had 4 videos, all you parents that are listening, and they're designed for students. They talk to the students. If you can't see me if you're listening to this on a podcast, but we have a PDF printout that the students and parents print out, and you watch this at home. You can do it at school too. You write down 3 things you liked about what Valerie said, 2 things you're going to avoid about what Valerie taught you about in the world, and then 1 thing you're going to execute. And so all 4, if we write a little bit of this down, parents and educators, in the smart social community, in our digital driver's ed, which is what we're teaching kids how to do online, then we're 2.7 times more likely to remember it if we use an old school pen or pencil on paper. Valerie, talk to us about one of the tips you taught the students in the posture module.
Well, first off is that posture is very important. So I feel like my job a lot of times is to convince the students that what I am teaching them is important. But one of the tips that I always teach them is, don't depend on the back of your chair for posture. Don't depend on leaning on your table. Really try to build those muscles in your back. And you have your own good posture. So our chest would be out, our shoulders are down and back, and how this could give others the best impression of us while also making us ourselves feel good about ourselves.
Yeah, and one of the things that you did in the lesson so well, Valerie, and educators, if you're listening to this, this is something we need to teach at schools, in our opinion. Because as an employer myself, and a lot of my friends are employers, we are looking for people who are confident about who they are. And that's what we at Smart Social believe. We want your student to shine. We want to show them what they're great at. They can't be great at everything. We want them to have the activities that they're solid at so they can believe in themselves. And this posture module that Valerie taught, and it's directly to the students. When you become a member in schools, you can learn more about the Smart Social membership and the digital driver's ed. You really hit, Valerie, on when we sit up straight, we put our shoulders back and down. It gives us that inner confidence, which I think is so important these days with students. And one of the things we also hinted at with the students and talked to them directly about is as we're texting, we'll often bend over and have bad posture. But if we put the phone up and we're keeping that posture in mind, you talked a lot about being mindful of that, which I loved. Okay. Let's talk next about eye contact. What did you teach the students in the module about eye contact?
Well, also that eye contact is very important. Once we have perfected that skill and practiced that skill enough to perfect it, then it kind of comes like second nature to us, and we don't have to be worried or scared anymore whenever we meet new people. So a good method that I teach in class is the triangle method. So there's a 5 to 10 second rule. The rule is you focus on one eye for 5 to 10 seconds. You focus on the other eye for 5 to 10 seconds. And then you're right in between the eyes. And then you go back to one eye, back to the other eye, just to give them a method of eye contact and what eye contact looks like, so that they're not using beady eyes or scared or squinty eyes, or not really knowing where to look. But the most important thing is not to look down during a conversation.
Yeah, I can't tell you, educators, parents, they can't tell you how important this is, right? We have a podcast episode, my friend Julie, from a couple months ago. I don't even know what episode it is. She taught about how in her 6th grade class, they teach students to greet and make eye contact, and all the adults are wowed by it. This is so crucial. And parents and educators right now, if you've ever met a student that looks down, you know that inside they just don't know that they should practice. This is a skill that Valerie teaches students how to practice. And in that lesson, it's just something that we need to try. I wasn't a very good public speaker. I got a C in one of my public speaking classes at university. I'm like, what? And now I'm not talented, but through a lot of practice, I'm able to travel the country, and I'm a public speaker. That's how I get paid. So it is a skill that we can learn, and eye contact is the first part of that. So please talk to your kids about not looking down, but rather good posture, eye contact. It's so, so important. Okay, now that was a great lesson, by the way, that you taught the students in our second video. So the first video was posture, then eye contact, the third module that we have in our little tiny lesson plan for students to watch. Now they're designed for students. We talked to students. It was proper English. Talk to us about what you taught the students in that module about proper English.
Well, proper English, if you use improper English, it could hurt your credibility. We all have something to say. We all want to be listened to. And it makes it difficult for the other person to listen to you if you're not using proper English. So the basics of English, like not using a double negative, not saying the word ain't, and also putting yourself last. Whenever you're talking about you and someone else, you would never say, me and so are going to the movies. You would always put yourself last, and just to practice those skills until it becomes natural to use proper English every day.
Oh, it's so true, because it leaves a lasting impression on people, right? So we've talked about posture, we've talked about eye contact, proper English, which I think in the lesson plan, I accidentally said good English, which is not great. Mom, you're watching this, listening to this. I know, because my mom is a bit of a grammar person about double negatives, and I love that. And I think that's where it needs to come from. People like Valerie, teachers, and parents. Parents, if you're listening to this, it has to come from you. You spend more time statistically with your kids than they do at school, right? It has to equally come from home, and this is something we can all work on. Now, last, and I think most importantly, is how we leave that first impression using a great handshake. Valerie, teach us what you taught the students in that module.
Okay. Handshaking is often the first impression that we leave with someone. So it's very, very important. It's very important to learn basic skills of it and to practice those basic skills. So a good tip that I like for my students to practice is when they're offering their hand, especially to an adult or someone who has a larger hand than them, to spread their fingers wide, or even just put their pinky down, depending on, how big or small their hands are. The smaller the hands, the wider you want to offer or widen your fingers. This way, the handshake is not overpowering to you. You want, even as a student or a young person, to have a good quality handshake. So that's a really good tip. The other tip that I like for them to practice is to notice where their web is on their hand and to practice web to web handshaking. This kind of lets the other person know that you really want to meet them, and not offering them just a small, unintimate handshake, but really getting in there and wanting to meet web to web with them and giving them a good, strong handshake is going to leave an amazing and lasting impression, especially for a young person.
I love this, and I'll tell you why. Because adults, listeners, parents, educators, you've probably heard people say, oh, that person gives great hugs, because it feels endearing and warm, and that's great. And there are other people out there that say kids should hug each other for 8 seconds a day, 8 times, and that's all great. But I believe in your child's future. Yes, we want them to be happy and well right now, but I also have this hidden agenda that giving your kids a great job, a great career, a great internship, and showing them deep down inside where the rubber meets the road with the skills that they can work on so that they feel awesome on the inside. Hey, that kid picked on me, but I know I'm good at this musical instrument. I can play the piano. I'm okay at football, and I volunteer, right? Those 3 things that inside we want them to do. And we strongly believe that showing the students their future is how to give a great handshake. It's a great way to meet someone, leave a lasting impression. I always compliment people on a great handshake. Oftentimes, I remember a woman gave me a handshake last week, and I said, wow, that's a great handshake. I think she opened her hand a little bit. It was not too strong, not too weak. It was perfect. And I think it's so important to leave that first impression, a great greeting from somebody else. I have a boxcar I could talk about for hours about that one, but I do know as an employer, as a businessman, that is important to many of us, as are the modules that you taught, Valerie, which you're so great. You taught about posture to the students, eye contact, proper English, handshakes, and you've got so much more that you teach schools, which I love. And there's more that people can learn about you if they click the links below, or if you go ahead and you'll click the links below, everybody that's listening in the podcast, and you can learn more about her. Please do subscribe, rate, and review. If you like this, if you like the cause that we at Smart Social have, featuring people like Valerie Roberts on this, please help us reach more people. And we want to make sure that we're helping the world to shine online. I've got one more thing that's pretty awesome. If those of you that might be seeing, we have a new app. And if you want to click the link below, it's called Smart Social. It is in the Android and iOS App Store, Smart Social. You can go to the front, as of today, the front of smartsocial.com, and it has the app right there. You can also search for us in the iOS and App Store. It has awesome videos. It has your membership videos and everything else, ways to keep your kids safe on social media so they shine online. And people like Valerie help them shine in purpose. Please rate, subscribe, and review if you've enjoyed this, and help us spread our message. Valerie, thank you so much for your time here today. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. For the rest of you, we'll see you soon. Remember to keep it light, bright, and polite, because your kids are watching. We'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day.